Thank you. The thing about these talks is you get to write the titles a long time before you give them, and that's quite a lofty one in hindsight. So I've got 15 minutes. I stand between you and lunch, so I'm going to try and keep this pretty pacey, show some videos, and then answer any questions at the end if required. So first, just a little bit of background about Zappar for those of you who don't know us. And everything you need to know is actually encapsulated in our name. So first of all, we're an app. It's a free app that you can download on iOS and Android. Indeed, our technology is a very light embed component that you can put in third-party apps, as we've done with people like Hasbro and Rovio and Vodacom and Cadbury's and PlayStation and many more, as we'll come on to show. And of course, it uses augmented reality. And again, the AR that we have is all developed in-house. It was done by one of our co-founders, a guy called Dr. Simon Taylor, who was at the University of Cambridge and was an engineer there. And indeed, around his algorithm, Connell, who's our CTO and another co-founder, he built the platform. So we own the whole tech stack. The only thing that we don't do is actually the serving and hosting, because Amazon do that quite well. Didn't seem sensible to take them on. And the most important three letters in our name are actually the ones at the start, the Zap. And we describe the Zap as the content experience that you get having actually scanned a product. And ultimately, it's down to the richness of that content experience. That is the most important thing. No one actually really cares about the technology, which is an odd thing to say at an event like this. It's got to be all about the user experience at the end of it. So there are two things that I guess separate the way that we think about AR and VR as a company. And the first thing is that we've kind of embraced codes. We really kind of see codes as quite a useful and practical tool. In that, you know, when we look at the history of it with this is a really ugly chart, by the way, 2D barcodes, you can see everything from data matrix codes, dot matrix codes, alphanumeric codes, clearly QR codes as well. The nice thing about them is they're actually a really useful way to provide logic to the world and to be able to discern between, you know, billions of different items that exist. The only thing is they're kind of ugly. They've never really been used from a consumer perspective particularly well. They're great for track and trace and enterprise. And so part of our thing was, well, how do we actually take the good things about codes but make them really relevant to a consumer audience and solve some of the other issues that are associated with actually telling people that something is AR enabled. So we created our own proprietary code scheme. It's a thing called a Zap code. The way that it works very simply is we have a finder feature in the middle, the bolt. Once the app sees the bolt, it looks for the bits around the outside. There are 40 in that scheme, which gives us 4 billion different permutations of it. And that then downloads the content from the cloud to appear either on the code or on the image that it's attached to. And it doesn't have to be our code, it can be custom codes. So we've done that with a number of different brands. There's some there for Rovio and Hasbro, and Ompi at the end is actually a pharmaceuticals brand. So we can take anybody's logo effectively and then create the scheme around it in order to leverage that on their different products and packaging, etc. So why are codes useful? Well, they actually solve a number of different problems. The first being this notion that they can actually be a lot smaller than QR codes in the camera view, and indeed they form part of the call to action. The thing about AR, the great sort of emperor's new clothes and deceit, is that how does anyone know that anything is AR enabled unless you tell them? So you've got to use some real estate anyway, and indeed this Zap code forms part of that, that signposting. Secondly, they're very quick and easy to scan. They scan from angles. They're very easy to detect. And that means that first critical step of actually making sure that someone has connected with that experience happens incredibly quickly. They can be fully customizable, as we've seen. They can be printed on the fly. We'll come on to show an example of that. So we don't actually have to know what the image is beforehand. It can just come off the code itself. The content can be updatable whenever you like. So content can be published to it over the air, daily, weekly, monthly. However you'd like to do that, obviously with billions of combinations, as we said. And indeed, that content is always on. We never have to take that out of the back end. It's always there. It's always available. And then we have real-time data analytics that occurs off the back of it through the Zappar data dashboard. So an example of that is some of the work that we do with Hasbro. We've worked with them for a number of years. And this was a piece that we did with Littlest Pet Shop. Now, we work with Hasbro and their iPlay team, their integrated play team, to understand how they can connect their physical world of toys with their digital app universe and create a sort of 1 + 1 = 3 play pattern. So you can still have fun with the toys without the app, you can still enjoy the app without the toys, but you put them together and something else, you know, you get another magical moment. And you'll see at the bottom, that's the LPS custom code that appears on every different SKU. So just a quick example, I'll just play this as we go. Now, the nice thing about this is what we found is that over 50% of people who actually downloaded the app went on to scan one of these toys. And indeed, on average, they scanned over 3 of them. So against sort of the business need and the requirement to try and drive more usage within the app and drive more collectability of toys, codes helped do that. Another example is the work, if I go back, the work we've done with them for Transformers. And actually for Robots in Disguise, the logo for that initiative became one of these custom codes. You see them in the bottom corner. And that was used not only on the toys, but also across the point of sale, and indeed used in online and broadcast. Now, in this example, actually every single code on every single toy was unique. And that meant that when someone scanned one of these codes, it actually unlocked a power-up in the game, and that was only available for that 24 hours. And then you'd have to go back the next day to scan it again to get another power-up. And that's really about kind of helping retention, average session time, again, within the app, and getting people to go and find more. And that picture on the side is actually the community online beginning to actually collect those codes and send them out to others, which is something we could then look at on the back end and see that there isn't too much abuse of that. So that's just codes sort of within an app, just unlocking content for it. But clearly back to that point of the Zap and the content experience being incredibly important. The thing that we also found when we started about 5-6 years ago is that there weren't that many tools that really understood the canvas of a mobile screen and tablet and was really made to take advantage of all those capabilities when thinking about augmented reality and indeed VR. So we developed our own platform, a thing called Zapworks. Now, actually, this is something that, a shameless plug here, but Connell will be doing a talk about at 2:30 later on today, and is something that has been now more widely launched. But the great thing about Zapworks is it allows us to make very, very rich, immersive experiences incredibly affordably, very scalably, that mean that we can do very dynamic things off codes and target images. So I won't go into too much detail because I'd encourage you all to come and see that talk a bit later on. Now, when we apply the Zapworks proposition to then some examples, it allows us to do lots of really interesting things off things that are actually incredibly anodyne and boring. And it doesn't get more anodyne and boring than a till receipt, really. So this was a campaign that we did out in South Africa with a petroleum company called Engine. And the thought here was, how do we do a loyalty program? How do we get people into the forecourt spending a little bit more on their shop in order to get a reward? And indeed, how do we use that level of entertainment as a data retrieval mechanic for customer information? So again, I'll just play this and just talk a little bit about it. Now, the thing about buying petrol in South Africa is that actually all the forecourts have to have price parity. You can't discriminate on the price of the fuel itself. So it's all about trying to create a richer experience. So in this one, if you'd spent over 30 rand, you got a code printed on the fly on your receipt that then unlocked this experience into a small racing game to give you a sort of a set of prizes. And each week, that would then be updated to unlock a new track and allow people to get on the high score table. And in order to get on the high score table, you had to enter in your details. So a really great way of actually trying to entice people into a data mechanic piece. And by their own internal econometrics, what they found from this campaign is there was an 11% uplift in sales year on year attributed to the use of this project. And indeed, that's something that we've now gone on and just rolled out this year again, and will go on into the future. I quite like this. This was a meme that came out of one of the campaigns as well. I mean, the nice thing about it is it has that sort of social share element that means that people are also taking that on and getting it out there. Another example is the work that we've recently been doing with Angry Birds around the release of their movie. And again, this was about trying to really bring the digital world into the physical world this time, and a whole bunch of partner promotions that included McDonald's, Pepperami, Pez, Lego, Toys R Us, Walmart, lots of different partners around the world. Indeed, there are over 1 billion bird codes, custom codes, that were then distributed around the world. And what that allowed us to do is create a suite of different content for different partners that would then unlock little mini games that were in the Angry Birds action app and then link again to power-ups within the game. This is one that ran in McDonald's on tray liners and cups, and there were many more. And again, the nice business piece about this is it got more partners absolutely integrated into the movie world, and it allowed Rovio to get more users into the app, and again, increase their average session time as people were finding all these codes with different partners everywhere. This is the PES experience. And again, all this content was created using the Zapworks platform. So it can be very dynamic. It can create really good interactions and mini experiences that can be incredibly rich. A final example is one from a completely different sector, and this is something that we did with Crown, who are some of the experts in metallic can packaging. And this was a very different proposition of going, how do we actually create a connection with consumers at point of consumption and not point of purchase? And the challenge here was, how do we actually get a code that could be printed under the ring pull at the right size, and then be hooked up to our Zapworks platform to create richer experiences? So clearly, a challenge to figure out how in the production line you can make codes that small and print them at vast quantities, but also create a big enough code scheme that could link to these rich experiences in order to then open up a different type of relationship with consumers. So how you could do golden ticket promotions, win-lose mechanics, all sorts of different things that could actually talk to the person who's actually using the product, not just the person who's buying it, and make sure it's linked to the purchase itself. So this opens up just a whole range of different opportunities for those brand partners. And this is where it comes, I think, about AR being more of a B2B2C proposition. How it can actually exist properly within the value chain as a business solution rather than just a marketing add-on. Now, the thing that we've also seen from the last 5 years of working in many different sectors across the world is there are 3 really sort of key ingredients to success, and they're really, really obvious, and we call it the 3 C's for success. It's about the right context, the right call to action, and the right content. Context is obvious. It's about having an occasion where someone's got a phone, they're interested in the thing that they're looking at, and they've got the right dwell time to want to participate. The call to action, I actually think, is as important as the technology. Anything that doesn't have the right call to action, that isn't telling people what to do, really we don't see the right results from it. And clearly, back to that content point, it has to be something that you could get, that you couldn't get more easily from just going on YouTube or downloading an app. It has to be richer, it has to have some sort of promotion mechanic, competition, exclusivity, whatever it might be. But if we do that, I think you can begin to think of codes and these experiences as sort of bite-sized entertainment. These are sort of the fortune cookies of the digital age. They should be snackable morsels that people actively want to scan. And if there's one thing that perhaps hasn't been great about QR codes is that sort of, they have a great utility, but they don't actually really encourage repeat usage because the experience is kind of lousy. So thinking about how we can make richer experiences to get people to do it more is at the center of what we're doing with our Zapworks platform. And once you've got that, then these codes really become that link, that multimedia channel between any physical thing. And that we've done campaigns across all of these, really, print, posters, point of sale, TV, whatever it might be, and allowing that and putting that in the hands of brands to control themselves. And that can then lead to all sorts of different sorts of consumer experiences and interactions and benefits. And being able to have that not only on a product basis, a sort of SKU basis, but an individual product basis is a huge advantage. So I think what we're really doing is the change from the last 5 years to the next 5 years is that we are into this sort of third wave of mobile. And that's about allowing people not only to look at their phones, but see through them. And what AR and VR, which, I mean, listening to the talks previously, I totally agree with. These are complementary types of technology that open up different sorts of behaviors and opportunities for all brands and businesses. And being able to unlock that now, I think, is a fundamental part of anyone's digital strategy. And it's about moving away from AR being these pockets of activity that are just used for one-off marketing campaigns, but are really thought about as central business solutions in order to increase engagement from users, and therefore get richer data and give them better experiences and lead to greater sales. Last thing you'll probably see in the delegate bags, we have this Zap in a box. Again, another shameless plug, but this is where we have brought Zapworks together to allow people to create three in one, really. It can be both AR experiences, mixed reality experiences, and virtual reality experiences. So I definitely encourage you to kind of give that a go. The nice thing about it is it can all be served through Zappar. It doesn't require a new app submission. It doesn't require the sort of the heft of something like Unity. And it allows for those experiences, again, to be published on the fly and updated. So it's a very versatile thing and a kind of fun experience. Thank you very much.